Hello and welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to another journal with me. Today's journaling page is a journaling page where I don't have any photos to work with. I have some other videos like this in my journal with me playlist, but today's video I only have some movie tickets to work with in the spread. And these tickets are from seeing the new Bridget Jones movie. I saw it with my sister. And before I begin journaling on the page, I'm just going through my supplies and I'm looking for anything that could be relevant to this spread that could help me to build up and decorate a page with only a movie ticket as my real ephemera piece. So with my movie ticket, I did scan it in and then I printed out a ticket as well. So I'm using both the original ticket and a printed version of the ticket. And then I'm going through all of my little paper bits and I'm just looking for anything that I might like to add to the page, like little fake tickets or little bits of scraps of paper. Because I saw this movie with my big sister, I also decided to include a picture of us, and I have these old childhood photos that I haven't used yet, and I decided to pick one out of two photos that I could have used of the two of us. We didn't take a photo together at the movies, and so I figured it would be cute to include a more nostalgic picture of us from when we were kids. I keep all of my journaling supplies beside me in my drawers at my desk, and so before I'm actually sticking anything down on the page, I'm just going through my drawers and I'm pulling out any bits of paper or just decorative items that I might like to use for the page. I've said that a few times now already in this process video, but that's exactly what I'm doing. That's what you see me doing here. So when I'm flicking through all of these supplies, I'm just looking for anything that has the right sort of feel to it, anything that might be relevant to seeing a movie or going to the cinema, any papers that are pretty, anything that reminds me of Bridget Jones, anything like that. So I'm just pulling it all out and then I'm going to begin working it together into a page. I'm also checking through this old children's book dictionary in case I can find a dictionary meaning that could be relevant to either the movie or the cinema or any sort of theme within the movie. Unfortunately, this time I didn't find any words or images that I felt were super relevant, so I didn't pull anything out, but I always like to check in that book just in case there's something that could go with the spread because I really like the feel that it adds to the page. So now I'm just trimming out those pictures that I had selected before, these childhood pictures. I actually have these printed on copy paper, and so I actually had them printed at the print shop. So they're a nice quality, they're waterproof and everything, but they're on thin paper, which is really nice for journaling actually because it doesn't add a lot of bulk to the page. I just trimmed them both out so that I could play around with them and just help me to select which one I want to use. I've also printed out a little image of Bridget Jones from one of the earlier movies in the series, and I've also pulled out a little dictionary meaning from a little pad that came from Tapology, and it just says diary, which obviously goes well with Bridget Jones's diary. Now what you're going to see me doing for a while here in this spread is just taking all of the pieces that I pulled out and just puzzling them around on the page, just shifting them and rearranging them until I'm happy with how they look. There are literally so many different combinations you can come up with when you're creating a page, and when you have all of your pieces out ahead of time on your desk, it's really easy just to shuffle them all around until you're happy with the layout. Although it can become more confusing the more that you shuffle them around because I find that there's just so many different layouts that look good. So I'm trying to pick the one that looks the best, but it doesn't always happen that way. Sometimes when I'm watching these videos back, I see the way that I had something laid out and then it ends up getting changed and I'm like, why did you change that? It looked really good. But that's just the way that it goes when you're journaling. And I think it's really important not to take it too seriously and not to worry too much about the page being perfect because there's no such thing. You're always going to have different combinations to try, and whichever one you end up going with, you should just have fun with the process. So whilst I am filling in the page with these bits of paper, trying to make them fit nicely, I'm trying to make sure I have space for journaling as well. I want to do a little bit of written journaling about actually seeing the movie with my sister. I want to write a really short little review of the movie. And I'm also going to add a quote from Bridget Jones, not from this particular movie, but from a previous movie. I have this cute little notepad that has review written on it, and then it's got some little like grades or like a little star grading system that you can color in out of 5 stars. So I pulled one of those off the pad as well. This little pad is also from Tapology. I've nearly gotten through the pad by now. It's quite useful to have, and they have actually a set of several different paper pads like this with different themes, but I thought that one that said review would be perfect for this page. The photo that I've included at the bottom of the page is of course an old nostalgic printout photo from when we were kids, and I wasn't initially planning on including it, but I felt like it was a nice way to add a touch more sort of sentiment to the page and make it feel a little bit more personal, I suppose, because I'm just journaling about seeing a movie. I feel like adding that picture of my sister and I, because it was just us two at the movies, it just makes the page feel a little bit more special. So I think that's a good thing to keep in mind. Sometimes when you are journaling, you may not have a photo or photos from that particular event or that particular memory, but you are allowed to go through your stash and you're allowed to include things that are from a different time or a different place. You can include photos from a completely different decade. It is okay. You can do whatever you want in your journal, and that is the fun of it. On the left side of the page here, I'm extending the page, making it a little bit longer by gluing this scrap of paper just sort of halfway over the page. So I still want to have some of that original paper showing through, but by adding this in the way that I did, you have a whole extra little panel to work with, which just makes that page a little bit bigger. I decided to stick the movie ticket along with the picture of Bridget Jones, and I'm just layering up my pieces gradually over the page until I'm happy with how it looks. I stuck the printed out version of the movie ticket down first. That one will last longer in my journal. The original movie ticket, which I layered on top, will eventually fade because it's just a thermal printed ticket. The text will eventually fade. One thing I like to do with thermal tickets sometimes is just trace over the text. That way, when they do eventually fade, I'll still know what it was about. But an alternative option is, of course, just to scan it and print out that ticket so that you have a copy of it. I added a fake movie ticket at the bottom of that page along with a B for Bridget. And then I also added that little diary meaning along the top next to the picture of Bridget. I think that looks really cute, kind of feels nostalgic. And then on the right side of the page, I added vintage ledger. It's actually a printout though, and you can get these printable ledger papers from my Etsy shop, which I'll link down below. I laid up the picture of my sister and I down the bottom. I stapled this vintage kitchen check across the side of the page so that you can lift it up. And then I'm adding a J on the other side for Jones. And then I'm also going to add that review piece on the same page as well. So I'm using a combination of just my glue stick and my stapler to attach everything down on this page. I'm using really light pieces of paper for this page. There's nothing that's very bulky or thick. A glue stick is working just fine, and then I like the texture that a staple adds. Now you can see I'm doing my journaling on the page. Again, I'm just writing about the movie. So I wrote a short review of the movie. I wrote a little bit about the previous movies, and then of course I wrote about seeing the movie with my sister. And I kept this all pretty short and concise. And then on that kitchen check, I'm using a red pen just to write this quote from a different Bridget Jones movie. I think this movie of all of the series was my least favorite of the whole lot, just because it was less funny. I think that's one of the things I really liked about the movies. They were very rom-com. They were very funny and lighthearted, but this movie had a bit more sad themes in it. So I liked it less for that reason, but otherwise I still think it's a good watch. I still think it's worth seeing. Next, I'm pulling out my stickers, and I'm just picking out stickers that I think have any sort of loosely relevant themes to the movie or to seeing a movie. I'm picking these stickers that have pictures of diaries or journals. I think that's obviously very relevant to the actual movie. And then I'm also just pulling out some other cute stickers that help to decorate the page and bring it all together. I keep most of my stickers in a clear plastic container. A lot of them are just loose in there, and I just go through them and pick them out as I need them. And then I also have a couple of different sticker folders that I use that hold the right sized sticker sheet. So they fit perfectly in those sticker folders. They go with them. Otherwise, I keep them in that container. And here's a look at the finished spread. This was a really, really simple page for me. It's very flat. There's not a whole lot of interaction. And I haven't used a lot of photos or ephemera pieces. I don't even have any like wrappers or sweet wrappers or anything for the movies, which I would normally keep. So I didn't have a lot to work with, but I still really like how I was able to create an entire page just with starting off with one movie ticket and going from there. I think this is a good example of when you only have one small thing to journal and how you can actually build it up to be an entire spread. And I think that's a really fun, beautiful thing about journaling. So thank you so much for watching to the end of this video, and I will see you again really soon in my next video. Bye.